Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to part two of installation on the 370Z on the Soho Motorsports turbo kit, single turbo. Continuing on, I think I was left off on the power steering pump yesterday. So let's begin. All right, so the last thing I did was install the coupler on that position that it was instructed to do, and I will show you that in a second. And then the next step will be installing the adapter. And the reason why we install the adapter is because we're going to be routing the power steering lines to the left side of the engine bay. So let me show you what I did yesterday. So I went ahead and cut the bracket the way they instructed to and install the coupler. The previous one was screwed in this hole right here, but the secondary hole that's right here doesn't have any threads to put the screw inside, to screw the screw. So I had to purchase the drill bit taps to make the grooves inside that hole, so that the screw would fit tightly in there and secure the coupler. Which is one of the requirements that they tell you that you need to buy before starting the project. Right here, if you guys look over here on the second page, it says it right there, 5 by 0.8 tab. Okay, so here's the piece that I'm supposed to install. I'm going to be installing this piece right here. And when I got that set up, we'll move to the next step, which should be, let's see. If I go down here, the next step will be installing the power steering pump back into the engine. So let's get that done, and I'll get back to you guys again. Okay, I'm back. So I went ahead and installed the pump back in the engine. As you can see it there, you will see it over here the same way. This is how it's supposed to go. Now, I'm gonna proceed with the next step, which is installing the power steering reservoir can on the driver's side of the engine. So I guess you'll be coming somewhere in here. I'm gonna get to start working on that now, and I'll get back to you guys to show you what it looks like. All right, guys, step 54 was removing the OEM power steering reservoir located in the passenger side to move it to the driver's side using the power steering locator bracket. So here's what they have. I will give you guys a heads up. I don't know if the installation was done on 350Z, because this bracket that's not there. So this is the bracket right here that they sent to you, this one right here, but this bracket right here, that's not there. So here's what I come up with. I took a piece of a metal that I had, and I bended it so that I was able to attach it to this right here. This is where the light goes. So when you install back your light, it's either up to you whether you want to put the screw back on, or either take the screw out, put the light on top of it, or put this on top of the light and tighten it back up. So I'll leave that up to you guys, how you guys want to do it. But continuing on to step 55. Let's see what we have here. and he's telling me to do some more cutting, and this is going to be on the driver's side. So this is what it looks like right now, and this is what it should look like after I'm done. All right, guys, I'm back. We are left in step 54, moving on to 55. And it says to cut that piece right there on the driver's side so that the lower hose of the power steering would route properly. And I'll show you that in a minute. And then you can see that it also routed the secondary hose right through the left-hand side where the support, the crash bar, where the crash bar gets installed, right there. So let me show you what it looks like. All right, so on a 370Z, you're gonna find that the part they're talking about is right here in the corner, so that the hose would route through there, and the secondary hose is gonna route through here. Now, what you guys also should know is that the cooler for the power steering, usually this piece is facing that way. Both hoses are coming through here, and it hooks in here. You're gonna have to take this piece, flip it upside down, mount it in the same place, because one goes there, and then there's a bar that comes down here, and the other one hooks up right here. And the very top hose is the one you're gonna wanna mount on the vertical position on the reservoir, as you can see, right there. That's the one that goes on top. The other one is mounted, which is diagonal from there, and I tie wrap it to that piece right there, and it goes into the power steering coupler. All right, and let's look at the next step. Next step is taking that bottom power steering hose, off and put in the fitting so that we get ready to run the braided silver metal hose from the power steering pump to this location right there. I'm gonna cut this video so I can get under the car and show you what it looks like under, and show you how I route the hose as well. So I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so I'm under the vehicle now. Here's what the fitting looks like and everything that is installed. Make sure you guys use the thread sealer on that fitting, and then use the metal silver hose, as you can see. I'm going to be attaching that hose to the chassis somewhere, or to the transmission somewhere, and then the hose routes through here, and I put it under the motor mount, and then from there comes up, because it needs to stay away from the header so nothing would burn up. Now I'm gonna go up and show you how it comes up. Bear with me. The hose comes up over here, and this is the fitting that comes in the package, in the kit. But it goes down through there. See, it's away from the header. Also, I'm thinking of doing next is taking this harness, and I'm gonna put it right behind this right here, so that it will also be out of my way. It will look something like this, tucked inside there. All right, so that was step 57. We move down to the next one. You can see the hose installation that I just showed you, and you can also see how they routed this hose and use the braided protection for it. And that's my next step right there. I'm gonna have to remove the factory one to be able to replace it. And get the next one installed. So let me get that done, and I'll continue with the install. Okay guys, so continuing with the installation. Yesterday, this is another day. Yesterday I stopped where I was routing the hose for the power steering. We were doing the bottom hose, and I was able to route this hose properly the way it should. This is this one right here. It goes through here and goes to the piece where we cut, and then routes through the side, through here. It goes in there, and it ties down there together with the metal one that we ran to the power steering pump. So our next step here, let's see here, this is exactly what I was showing you now. Two hoses, the metal one and the rubber one. Yeah, they use a couple of zip ties to tie it and route it properly. Then it comes out through there, and of course I show you just pictures just now live. Continuing, they're asking us to remove this rubber piece that's located on the passenger side motor mount. I went ahead and did that. It's not hard to do. This is probably because the piping routes through there, and this is a rubber piece, and they probably don't want it to get burned. It's very, very thin. You can always just cut it with a blade and pull it right off. You don't need to take any screws out. That was pretty easy. So let's keep on moving here. This next part is only for G37 vehicles, so I'm gonna skip that. All right, and now I guess we're gonna start disconnecting the throttle body, because we're gonna be installing the fuel injectors and the fuel pump. So basically, you don't really have to follow everything that says here if you know how to take your manifold out. You know, take it out, remove everything you need to remove, all the hoses, the connectors, because you need to get to the injectors, basically. And this is what it's telling you here, all these steps right here. You know, tells you to lose the throttle body. I don't know why they want you to lose that throttle body out when you don't have to do that to take the manifold out. But yeah, get to the part when you take the screws out of the manifold, take that one out as well, and get to this step. So I'm gonna leave it right there and come back to you guys when I'm already at this step. Okay guys, back again. This is the step that I was left on, and here we are. Took everything out. And like I mentioned to you guys, you don't need to take the throttle body off. You can just take the hose that's connected to it, this one and this one. Make sure you get this knot and the one on the back right here, and take all these out of there, and obviously take the plugs out and just lift it up. It'll come right up. Also, this one right here, you have to take it out, and this one too. Obviously connected to the harness, so you have to take it out. And I'm ready to move on to the next step. So let's see what comes up next. Let's see here. All right, so now they're asking you to remove. It says here, with the intake manifold remove the clamp holding the coolant line to the throttle body on the driver's side, seen below. So let's see. I guess they want us to remove this one right here. And basically, I already unplugged it, but I'll take it out anyways. I said I wasn't gonna do this because you guys should be able to do the sampling on your own. It's just hard to do with one hand, but I'll take that off. That's not a big deal. Let's move on. Okay, so then it says you will remove You will now move toward the rear of the engine and remove the coolant line that is mounted in the back of the engine going to the passenger side throttle body. So, let's see. Let's see what they're talking about over here. I guess passenger side throttle body. Alright, so we're looking at this like this. This is the flywheel. This is right in back of the engine. This is the main harness right here. So I'm gonna find this hose right here and remove it. Okay, step 71. They wanted us to take that hose that's in the back of the engine. This hose, so you guys will follow which one is it. It will be the secondary hose that connects to the throttle body. If you follow that hose, it'll look like this. It goes right in the back of the engine and it connects like that. I suggest you have the right necessary tools to do this, like one of those pliers, especially to take the hoses out, because over here in the back there's not too much space to get that done. But if you have the right tools, you'll be able to take it out. You know, always when you take the clamp out of the hose, you just don't pull the hose out. You have to break the seal, like twisting it in order to pull it out. So just keep that in mind. So moving on to the next step. Here they're gonna want me to start taking the fuel rails out. So I'm gonna start removing these screws. You know, that one right there, that one, and that one, and then followed by taking the fuel line screws, or the small regulator, I think it is, taking it out. So let's get that done. And then they want you to use a pry bar and just pressure it up so it can come up, because the injectors are pressured into the slot. All right, so let's get that done and make sure that we have the injectors out. Well, we'll continue. Our next step was removing the injectors and the fuel rail. Basically went ahead and do that. Injectors are out, and now it's telling us to make sure that none of the rubber seals, oil seals on the injectors were left behind in the manifold, because you know, if it falls inside the chamber, it can cause problems. But moving on, it tells me to remove the that small clip that's holding the injector, and followed by again making sure that grommet from the previous injectors don't fall inside. And now I'm going to proceed to install the harnesses on the injectors, and also it tells you to lubricate the grommet before you put them in, so they can slide right in, and the new grommets won't break by pressuring it in without the lubrication. So here we are. These are mine, I guess. All the grommets are in place, the green little rubber pieces. And also this cap, sometimes they come out and they fall in there. But I'm gonna proceed to remove the clips and get the new injectors out. And once I have them installed, I'll show you what it looks like before I put them in. And guys, while you're in there, you know, you can do your maintenance. If you see any dirt inside there, you know, if this is your chance to clean it out, get a vacuum, clean it out. It's not all the time that you get to go inside these places in there. You know, wipe it down, which I will be doing, wiping the stuff down over here and all that stuff. You know, to get a cleaning install when you put it back. So step 78, it's where we'll be left off. I'll get that done and I'll come back. All right, so I was able to get the fuel rail out and install the new injectors. Make sure, guys, that when you do this, you lubricate that grommet to make sure it pops in there properly. Also, this harness right here, make sure you don't cross it when pushing it in. It only has 2 pins inside that you have to use. Just make sure that you're plugging the plugs together properly, the right way, because you can easily bend one of those things. So everything was already installed. I went ahead and put it back into the engine, and you can see the new plugs in there and the new injectors already in there. I'm gonna proceed to connect back the fuel rail, the other part of the fuel rail, and I guess after that we'll move on to the next step. This is what I'm telling you, go ahead and put it back in. And I guess the next step will be replacing your spark plugs. I got those coming in today, or I think tomorrow. I can always get that done. So I'm gonna move on to the fuel pump inside and taking the canister out to replace my stock fuel pump. So I will be at this step right here. I'm pretty sure you guys seen this before. If you haven't, you can always look on videos on YouTube on how to remove your fuel pump or take it out, however you want to call it. You have to, this will require disassembling the canister to replace the actual fuel pump, you know, taking the clips out right here so that it'll come apart to replace the actual pump inside. So I'm gonna see if I can make the video properly when I'm taking this thing out so you guys can have an idea. Like I said, it's not the same thing as looking at a manual, looking at somebody doing it on video. But let me get to it. Once I have the pump out and the canister, I'll come back. All right, so we were left in step 85, taking the fuel pump out. Of course, you should already know how to take your fuel pump out of the vehicle. If you don't know how to, you can always look up a video on YouTube and learn how to do it. But I'm gonna go through what's important to you guys to know after you take the fuel pumps out. This is what it's showing you right now, how to take it out. Keep in mind that the manual is showing you a different instructions, like maybe this is like a 350 that they're using for illustration. So it's going to be different from the 370. The fuel pump that they show here, it's nothing compared to what you have inside your 370Z. All right, so the pump is nothing like you have inside your tank. So you can spare yourself by trying to follow all these steps and totally disconnect stuff. It's just not going to be the same. Overall, I'm gonna show you real quick what I was able to do, and that way you guys can have an idea of what you're supposed to do. But in step 100, you definitely should follow that, because the aftermarket pump has this indentions in here, and you have to shave these down in order for the pump to firmly fit inside the canister. You know, this is what it looks like afterwards. And also this right here, it's your option to use it. I use the one I have because the one I have has the shape of the canister on the bottom, and this is just like a square piece, so I put the one I had. It fit right in there. So I'm gonna leave it over here so I can show you guys what I did. As you can see, this pump right here, it's just different. This little grommet right here, you won't see that on your package. You will see a piece of black hose that you need to connect the pump to the canister. So let's go over there now and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so this is the pump. This is the piece of hose you're gonna have in there to connect from this section to this section right here. If you look at the old one, this one, you would never take this thing off to reuse it. It was meant just to fit in there tightly enough so it won't come off with the pressure. So you're not going to be using that hose again. All right, so on the bottom, as you can see, the filter takes this shape right here, and this is why I didn't use the other filter that's actually like square. It just fits right in there perfectly, right? So what I did was I used the rubber, it's like a rubber material you have to put inside this pump so that the pump will fit tightly in there. You have to use that to make sure it fits in there properly. It's like a sleeve, yes. And then I actually took the pins out of the old cable and put my new cable in there and try to make it as clean as possible to put them back in there nice and tight. Make sure you secure that so that I will have the options to take the pump out and replace it in the future if I wanted to. All right, everything else goes back in there the same. The clips you're supposed to take out in order to take the pump apart was one over here and there's one over here, and on the spring you take this clip right here off, you pop it out, you bring this down and you pop it out, and there will be another one over here. I lost mine, but as long as this thing pressures down and stays down, it's properly fine. Once you take this out of here and this out of here and this clip and this clip, this whole thing is going to pop up. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that this hose, it's the one you need to feed your pump, and make sure that everything is nice and tight because this is a pressure fuel pump. It's what I found the most importance on this put together install. All right. Okay, so finally I finished with this fuel pump. I was able to put everything back inside. Everything fit correctly. That was step 111. If you keep going down, the next thing that they want us to prepare for is taking the oil pan out. And like I said, this looks like a 350Z because they after removing the first skid plate, they want you to remove also screws on the secondary plate that it has, but the 370Z doesn't carry that plate, so you might as well skip that step. You don't need to do that. So just proceed to taking the screws out of the oil pan, and once you pry it out with the screw with the flat driver or whatever you needed to pry it out with, go ahead and continue cleaning the surface to make sure there's just no residue there, that there's no gasket remaining there, and take your tube, the tube that uses to suck on the oil, take that out as well. I've done all that, so I'm just going through the menu here, as you guys can also do that yourself. There's just no special way of doing all that stuff. And then proceed by taking the oil sensor, the pressure sensor out. Take the pressure sensor out of there, and then you're going to use the splitter that comes in the kit, because you're going to be sending oil to the turbos, so they want you to get this thing installed. I'm going to go back up to the oil pan, or I'm going to skip all the way to the oil pan to show you exactly what I'm about to do. This is the step where I'm at right here, and if you go over to my workbench over here, when you put this Z1 adapter in there, you got to make sure that you're putting the fitting on the proper way, because you have one indentation in here and you have another one in here. You got to make sure that the oil pan is sitting correctly in there, so that you know that this is going to be facing the front of the vehicle. So when you place it there, you know that this fitting has to be facing the front, because this is where you're going to be fitting your lines from. So basically, it will look like this when you're done. So you could, like I said, you can always end up putting it on this side. You don't have to take it off. Do not put this fitting yet. Just go ahead and apply the liquid gasket and get these two together. So apply it right here, put one on top of each other, then apply right here again. Your stock bolts are going to be replaced with longer bolts. And also on the fitting, make sure you use your thread lock so that you don't get any leaks. And before you put your oil pan, also you have to put this. I'll look for that later. You have to put this extension on your oil tube so that it will be able to reach all the way down and suck the oils. Now that your oil pan holds a little more oil than before. So that's my next step. I'm gonna be putting the liquid gasket, putting this one on top, and putting the screws on together with this inside there. So I'm gonna get that done, and I'll come back to you guys to get the splitter that goes on the oil pressure sensor to get those installed as well. So let's get this done first, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I was able to get the plate installed, the spacer and the oil pan. I wanted to clarify that about the second skip plate that you guys. I wanted to clarify about the second skip plate that you guys have. The reason why they want you to remove the second skip plate is because this screw one right there on the oil pan, you cannot tighten that screw if this if this skip plate is not lower down. So I went ahead and loosened these 4 screws right here, and I was able to bring the plate down. See? Bring it down a little more, like take all the screws out, bring it down, and then you'll be able to tighten the screw right here. And then you just put everything back and tighten it. But that's the reason why they wanted you to take that second skip plate out. And not to mention this right here, because if you keep this on the plate, you won't be able to bring the plate lower. So that was clarified. Then I wanted to show you this right here, that splitter. That splitter right there has 3 pieces. The first one that goes on the block, then there's a L-shaped one that goes after that, and then there's a silver one that goes up to that. Make sure you guys use the thread block, the thread sealer on all these. And if you do have an oil cooler, your sandwich is gonna fit in there nice and tight. There's not gonna be too much room, because if I put this back up there, you guys gonna see that there's hardly any space. There's hardly any space for this fitting right here. It might be touching this, so you're gonna have to position it as best as you could. Just wanted to, give you guys a heads up on that. I will continue to get this thing done. Once I get it installed, I'll come back and I'll film it to show you what it looks like. Thank you. All right, this is the end of this video. This is the end of part 2. Everything was installed up there. The sandwich plate is up there. Like I said, real limited space when you put everything together. There's the fitting that's probably going to be fitting your oil turbo, the turbo that comes from the oil, the oil, or the line, should I say, that comes from the turbo. And then this right there, that's my AEN oil pressure gauge. This is what it looks like. On this side, there's another plug that covers the oil pan. I don't know if you guys can see it up there. You should put like I said, your thread sealer in there. But I'm done here. All I gotta do is put my oil filter on there, and I'm all set. And I'll be putting my skip plate back. So
I'm gonna be going to the piping next. This is the step that I'm showing you right there. Installing the turbo hot side pipe. So tomorrow I'll be continuing this video. If I don't do it tomorrow, it'll be the next day. But thank you for taking your time to watch these instructions. I hope that this was a help to others that are trying to do this installation. Stay tuned for part 3. Thanks for watching.